Erev Tov, everyone. Erev Tov. It is Monday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east of the United States, here in the diaspora. This is the Maimon Beit Knesset. Therefore, it must be Zeyde Story Corner. Yeah, Zeyde Story Corner, of course. And we are coming up on the end of the tales from the Sephardic world. And need more books? Yeah, we definitely need to have some more, get some more books so we have more stories to read. We've been through quite a few, and we'll have to see after this session if maybe we go back to some of the older ones and retell them. But in the meantime, let's see who we have in the chat room. We have Donald, and we have Marshall. And we have Simcha. And, of course, we have a few people watching in the background, too, and others who will be joining us fashionably late. Yeah, fashionably late, yeah. Okay, so I guess we probably should just get on with the stories here. Let's do that. Yeah, okay. So let me get you on your camera. There I am. Okay. So, this story, and again, if you remember last week, we were telling these funny stories of Joah and the different things that he was doing, like growing camel seeds and stuff like that. So, we are going to continue with these stories of Joah. This story in particular is called Joah and the Mules. Okay, so on Livestock Market Day, which was Friday, the Turkish army in Jerusalem used to draft mules, exporting them for government service. Soldiers armed with batons strolled through the market and confiscated the mules of the peasants who had brought them into town to sell them. Seems like a good day to stay away from the market would be on a Friday, especially if you are going to sell mules. But then again, okay, if a peasant dared open his mouth in protest and object to the confiscation of his mule, he was rewarded with stout blows. Sometimes he was even hauled off to the barracks next to the Torah of King David in the old city, where he was bastoned on the soles. That's actually, he was beaten on the soles of his feet until the blood flowed freely. This was his reward for his long tongue and slander of the Ottoman government. Once this scene was played out before Husham, out of fear, Husham harnessing all his remaining strength, he ran away from the marketplace while he still could. As he was running for dear life, his friends stopped him. "What's the matter, Husham?" they asked. "Who are you running from? Do you think you're one of the mules?" "How can you ask whom I'm running from?" replied Husham in his panic. "Have you ever been struck blind? Don't you see that the army is impressing all the mules for use in an emergency? I'm afraid they'll grab me along with the mules. And until they discover they made a mistake and I'm not a mule, I'll pant out my soul from the weight of the burden they'll place on me. So I'd better run home and not loiter in the street. And that's it. Okay. Yeah, maybe not so funny, huh? Okay, well, that was not that funny, was it? Well, I guess you actually had to be there, during the Ottoman time to actually. That may be right. Yeah. Well, I guess one of those you had to be there kind of things. I guess that's it. Okay, so let us go on with our next story. Hopefully, this will be funnier. Actually, it is. It's a good, funny story. Okay, so this one is called A Recipe for Fish. Joe's mother sent him to the fishmonger. You would think by now Joe's mother would have more sense than to send him. You would think so, but then again, we wouldn't have all these great stories now, would we? You do have a point. Okay, so anyway, Joe's mother sent him to the fishmonger to buy a fish. What did you think he was going to buy? Anyway, she told him to ask for the recipe too. How do you cook this kind of fish? There is a right way to cook each kind of fish. You can't just cook every fish the same way. So she told him, buy me a capilico. That is a tasty saltwater fish. And ask the man exactly how to fix it. The fishmonger knew Joe's mother sold him a fish. Tell her to slice it, fry it, put it in tomato sauce. And Joe started moaning. Oi, he said. He went as far as the end of the street and stopped. I forgot, he said. When he came back to the fishmonger, I forgot already. So the fishmonger explained to him again. He knew Joe was a little slow on the uptake, shall we say. First, slice it. Then, fry it. Then, put it in tomato sauce over a low flame. Now, do you remember? Yes. The fishmonger repeated the recipe, but again, Joe reached the end of the street and came back crying, I forgot. The fishmonger got irritated. Take a pencil, he said, and wrote the recipe on the back of Joe's hand. 1. Fry. 2. Slice. 3. Tomato sauce. Then he told him, show your mother how to prepare this fish. She'll remember already. Okay. So Joe went off holding his hand in the air. The whole recipe, swinging the fish on a string in the other hand, twirling it as he strolled merrily through the streets. What could possibly go wrong, right? Okay. He would look at the recipe and then at the fish. He could already imagine that he was eating it. Without warning, a huge cat jumped out of an alley, grabbed the fish, and started racing away with it. The cat ran off. Poor Joe had no idea how he could get the fish back. In the end, standing there in the middle of the street, he gave up hope. Go on, he called after the cat. I've still got the recipe. I won't let you have it. He licked off the back of his hand. Now, go figure out how to cook the fish. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Joa. My goodness. Okay. So we get to our next story. Again, we are coming up very quickly on the end of these stories. We may not even be able to fill up the hour, but we'll see what we can do. Okay. This one is called a fair division. One market day. What the heck do they keep sending this poor guy to the market? They know what's going to happen to him. My goodness. You'd think they would know better. Well, maybe they don't have anybody else to do it. Yeah, but still, I mean, write him a note or something so he can take it. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, so on market day again, Joe and his two friends went to see what they could buy as partners. They bought a ram and 2 lambs and dragged them out of the market. Okay, so far so good. Then it was time to split up and go home. Oh boy. Come, let us make a fair division, proposed Joa. You, my friends, are 2. Take a lamb, and that will be 3. The ram I will take, and the other lamb. Seriously? Oh, my goodness. This must be new math, huh? Okay. Okay, we scroll up through all the notes. You wouldn't think there would be that many notes for such a story. Okay. This one is called A Bad Man's Deserts. So I don't think the Joy is actually in this one. Poor guy's probably still stuck in the market somewhere. Okay, so anyway, let's find out about the bad man's desserts. In Istanbul, there was an Armenian peddler who dealt in glassware. Every day the peddler and his donkey would pass next to the shop of a Jew named Zebulon. Stopping in front of the Jew, he would tell him, "Your brother wants to speak to you," and point at the little donkey. This hurt Zebulon, since he had a brother named Issachar who was a scholar. "What reason do you have to get angry?" the Aramean used to say. "Does it not say in your holy Torah that Issachar is a strong-boned ass?" Zebulon's Turkish neighbor would say to him, "I'd like to see you give it to that smart guy." One morning, Zebulon filled his pockets with horseflies. Oh my. By chance, that day the Aramean came with all his merchandise loaded on the donkey. As usual, he said to him, "Here's your brother." Yes, replied Zebulon, "and I have a secret to tell my brother." The peddler saw that a double delight awaited him this morning. "Go ahead and tell him," he said. The Jew went over to the donkey's ear. While the Aramean thought he was speaking to the donkey, he put flies in his ear. Naturally, the donkey started jumping around. All the merchandise broke. When the peddler sued, the judge asked Zebulon, "What do you have to say for yourself?" He answered, "Your Honor, Every morning this man passes by my shop and points to his donkey as if he were my brother. Now, we have a little sister who is about to get married. When I told him not to be late, the poor fellow was so happy that he started to dance. The judge turned the Aramean and delivered his verdict. The Jew is innocent. This is the judgment for someone who makes fun of Jews. And there you have it. Okay. This one, I think, is actually the last story. And we're not even, we're just over 15 minutes into this thing. Okay. Okay, this one is called The Rabbi and the Priest. One day, a rabbi and a priest, this is one of those bar jokes, isn't it? No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, it starts out like a bar, a priest, a minister, and a rabbi, walk into a bar, and, they say to the bartender, "Did you hear the one about us?" Anyway, okay, I'm just saying it sounds a lot like a joke. Okay, anyway. One day, a rabbi and a priest were traveling together in a train, talking about religion. The priest took a small parcel out of his pocket, opened it, and prepared to eat. What had he brought to eat? Bread and pork salami. Oy, pee. But before he took the first bite, the priest turned to the rabbi. "Please, would you like to take a taste?" The rabbi trembled all over, but trying to sound naturally, he answered, "No, thank you. Don't you know that we Jews don't eat pork?" "Ah," replied the priest, "you don't know what you're missing." And he proceeded to eat the bread and salami. When the train reached the station, the two got off and shook hands. Before each went on his way, the rabbi turned to the priest. "Give my regards to your wife." "What?" replied the priest. "Don't you know that priests don't marry?" "Ah," replied the rabbi, "you don't know what you're missing." Oh boy, that was pretty good, huh? Okay, let's see if we have any more. That is it. Oh my goodness. We have hit the end of the book that we were reading, all 769 pages. My goodness. Now what do we do? Okay. Anyway, I guess what we'll do is we will take an early break and come back and maybe find another story or two. Huh? What do you think? Okay, let's do that. Okay, we will take a short break and we will be back and we'll see what we can come up with for a couple of last-minute stories. Okay, stay tuned.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
So everybody wants to tell horse stories, huh? Okay, I got one for you. You ready? Here we go. A cowboy rides into town. And he rides up to the saloon. And he gets off his horse. And he walks over and ties up the horse. Then he walks around to the back of the horse, picks up the horse's tail, and kisses him right on the tuchus. And then he walks into the bar. Another cowboy was watching this, and he goes up to the other cowboy. He says, I saw what you did out there with the horse. He said, what was that all about? He said, oh, that? He said, I have chapped lips. The guy looks at him and he says, what is that some kind of a Native American treatment for chapped lips? He said, no, but it keeps me from licking my lips. Okay, anyway. So, we are going to take a small trip back to the silly world of Helm. Isn't that where your aunt is from? Don't start that with my aunt. I'm just asking you. We talked about this before, about your aunt and your wife's cell phone and how your aunt kept calling your wife's cell phone because she left it in her room, your aunt's room. Yeah, I remember. And you still say she's not from Helm. I'm telling you, she is not from Helm. Okay, if you say so. Anyway, let us go back to the silly world of Helm. And this story, we'll tell a couple from this story. If you remember, we read this book, probably back the beginning of 2022, maybe, something like that. Anyway, this one is called A Fish Story. Seems to be a theme going on to that. Yeah. What is this? Is this the second fish story we've had tonight? Yeah, just a second. Yeah, okay. So, a fish story. So, progress became important in the village of Helm. So, Shepzel decided to open a restaurant. He opened a little shop in the center of town and put in the latest cooking devices so that his would be the most modern restaurant in the village. Since Helm was located near the river, fresh fish was no problem. Shepzel prided himself in cooking the most delicious fish in the little village. He made flounder taste like chicken, and gefilte fish taste like steak. One day, Lamech, the town's only shoelace salesman, came in for dinner. He was all smiles. Today I would like to have a nice piece of flounder, he announced to Shepzel, who stood ready to take his order. Shepzel disappeared into the kitchen and in a few moments came out with a piece of flounder on a plate. Here you are, my friend, he exclaimed proudly. As Lamech leaned over the plate, he pulled back in shock. This fish does not smell fresh, he shouted indignantly. Shepzel ran to his side and smelled the fish. My friend, there is nothing wrong with the fish. I don't know, sighed Lamech. Something doesn't smell good to me. Shepsel smiled warmly. It's not the fish you smell, it's me. Lamech smiled uneasily and prepared to cut a piece of the fish as Shepsel withdrew to the kitchen. Lamech cut the first piece and took one bite. Gewalt, he screamed as he spat out the fish. Shepsel came running from the kitchen. What is it, my friend? I took one bite of this fish. It's terrible, he shouted, almost in tears. This fish is stale. Shepsel picked up the plate and looked at the fish curiously. It's impossible. This fish cannot be stale. Don't you remember you ate here 2 weeks ago and you praised my fish? You licked the plate. Wait a minute, Lamech explained. That piece of fish was fresh. Well, Shepsel shrugged. How can you complain now? This is from the very same fish. Okay, I think I've ate in that restaurant. Yeah, I think we've all ate in that restaurant at some point in our lives. Yeah, probably. Okay, so let's see. We won't name any names. No, we probably won't do that. That probably wouldn't be a good idea. Okay, so let's go on to the next story. Okay, a portion of paradise. Reb Muthel and Reb Yosel were two of the most pious men in all of Helm. They were also among its leading citizens. So it was an event when they went to the sage of Helm, the wisest man of all, to ask him a question. Dear sage, Reb Muthel began, we have a question. The old sage listened intently. According to the ethics of our fathers, you remember that's Pirkei Avot. Yeah, I remember. It says, every member of Israel has a share in the world to come. Kol Israel Yish Lochem Helek Allah Olam Haba. Got a little tongue-tied on that one. Yeah, she did. A little bit tongue-tied on that one. So anyway, we go on. Okay. The old sage smiled hands warmly and said, indeed, that is true. But what has this to do with your question? Yosel smiled uneasily and asked the sage, you see, I am a Kohen, and my friend Reb Muthel is a Levi. The question is, why does Scripture say Kol Yisrael? Aren't those of us who are Kohanim and Leviim also entitled to a special consideration? The old sage stroked his beard pensively. Then, in keeping with the highest standards of the village of Helm, what are you looking at? Nothing. He went into deep thought. Suddenly a smile crossed his countenance. My friends, he began, placing his arms on the shoulders of each of the two men, the Kohanim and the Leviim are indeed such holy and special people that one must not ever pronounce their names. So when it says Kol Yisrael, the K of Kol really stands for Kohanim, and the L in Kol really stands for Leviim. Reb Mottel looked at Reb Yossel and smiled across each one's face. They were very pleased. Oh, what brilliance! And until this very day, the Kohanim and the Leviim in the village of Helm walk around with their heads held high, with a wonderful inner feeling, knowing that a very special seat awaits them in a very special reserved section of the world to come. And this is the feeling of Helmites have given to all Jews. So there. Okay, such a sage, such a wonder, such a mind. Okay. This one is called A Stone in the Road. Once upon a time, in the silly world of Helm, a stonemason was driving his cart loaded with stones through the streets of the village. As the wagon went over a bump, one of the huge stones fell from the cart into the middle of the road. Of course, the stonemason did not hear the stone fall and continued on his merry way. A short time later, a soldier was driving his cart down the very same street. The stone blocked his way, and he wondered, now, what is such a huge stone doing in the middle of the road? Of course, our noble community is going to build some sort of monument to our war heroes. Isn't that wonderful? Indeed, I'm proud. He pulled the reins tightly and drove the wagon around the stone. Later, a road builder was driving his wagon down the street. When he came to the stone in the road, what could this stone be doing in the roadway? Seeing the tracks from the previous wagon that went around the boulder, he thought, I guess our community is really growing. Now they are going to widen the roadway. Isn't that encouraging? It is a good thing. I build roads and I can understand such things. I am indeed proud to be part of such a growing community. He too pulled his horse to the side and went around the boulder. A little later on, a peddler found his way down the street and came to the stone in the road. Here, what is this? A stone in the center of town? Oh, I see. They're probably building an auction block for us peddlers to sell our wares. Indeed, this is a thriving community. Yes, they do look into the future. I am indeed proud to be part of such progress. My goodness. Anyway, he too pulled his wagon to one side and went around the boulder. Later on, a schoolteacher was returning from a trip, and his wagon came upon, you guessed it, the boulder in the road. Now look at this, a stone in the road. Of course, now I understand. They are going to build a new school in Helm. And of course, before they can build a school, they must set a cornerstone for the foundation. What a wonderful community. I am indeed proud. And so it was. Each tradesman and professional passed down the street and saw the stone. Each found another reason to be proud. A doctor, returning from a call, saw the stone and was certain the community was going to build a hospital. A lawyer was certain that it had to be a courthouse. The rabbi was positive his congregants were going to surprise him with a new shul. Each saw the boulder as something else, but always something to be proud of. Each felt the progress was being made in their little village and expressed such great joy for being part of progress. The very next day, there was a parade in the center of town. As the marchers came upon the stone in the road, they stopped and wondered what the stone was doing in the middle of the road. The soldiers stepped forward and smiled. I can easily see that some kind of monument is being built to honor our war heroes. The road builder smiled patronizingly and declared, I appreciate your understanding, but, my dear friend, since I build roads, I can readily see that a furrow has been cut around the rock by wagon wheels, and that means they are going to widen the road. The school teacher smiled knowingly. Gentlemen, you are both wrong. Can't you see this is the type of stone that is used for laying the foundation stones for schools? Of course, this is where our new school is going to be located. The doctor stepped forward and smiled. My friends, those are all noble thoughts, but can't you see this is where our new hospital is going to be built? The lawyer nodded in disbelief. My friends, this is where our new courthouse is going to be built. Anyone can tell that. You build a courthouse in the center of town, and this is the spot. The controversy continued to rage. Finally, one small child in the parade shouted, why don't we ask the sage of Helm? And so, a delegation from the parade ran to the home of the old sage of Helm. Dear sage, they began, there is a huge rock right in the middle of our roadway. We know it is the beginning of something exciting. Can you tell us what is going to be built? The old sage scratched his head and said, why, the stone was placed in the middle of the road is unimportant now that this stone is missing. However, the answer to your question is obvious. You have to understand that when a large stone is cut out of a mountain and placed in the middle of the road, if it should rain the very next day, the stone will shrink. That is why there are always pebbles in the road. Once those pebbles were huge stones. Everyone marveled at the wisdom of the great sage. The doctor, lawyer, and teacher and soldier thought to themselves, indeed, how lucky we are not to have begun a building with a stone that shrinks when it rains. Oh, my goodness. Okay, one more. Here we go. This one is called A Visit to the Doctor. Oh, this should be good. Okay. Once upon a time, in the rabbi's aunt's hometown. No. Read what it says there. Okay. In the little village of Helm, The old sage was not feeling well and was convinced he should visit a famous doctor in Minsk. The doctor welcomed the old-timer and examined him carefully. After all the tests, he sat down with the old sage and asked, "Tell me, my friend, do you drink wine or whiskey?" The old sage smiled uneasily and replied, "Of course I do. Not much, maybe a glass or two a day. It keeps the old bones warm on these freezing days." The doctor sighed uneasily. "And tell me, do you smoke your pipe?" The old sage nodded. "Not as much as I used to, but I smoke my pipe a goodly number of times during the day." The doctor shook his head and said sadly, "Well, all I can tell you is that you have to stop drinking so much wine and whiskey, and you must stop smoking tobacco if you expect to live out your years." The old sage did not say a word. He dressed himself quickly and started to walk out of the doctor's office. "Excuse me, old sage," the doctor exclaimed, "but you forgot to pay me. You see, my fee is 20 kopecks." The old sage turned indignantly and asked, "And what must I pay you for?" "You must pay me for my advice to you. After all, advice is my stock and trade." The old-timer continued to walk out the door, but the doctor ran after him. "Please, my friend, let us not make a scene. You must pay me." "For what?" shouted the old sage. "For my advice," shouted the doctor back. "Ah," sighed the sage, "who's taking it?" "Oh, I like that. Next time I go to the doctor, I am going to use that one. I like that one a lot." Okay, we're going to call it good for tonight. We'll pick up more stories. We're going to have to dig up some good stories, and then we will return with more stories. So please, everyone, don't forget, tomorrow night, that hopefully that the Skype or the WhatsApp is going to be working, and Rabbi Anshel will be back with us. And tomorrow night is the Rabbis Discuss, and it's going to be part 6 of the Bahir. And then on Wednesday night is the Torah study for the parasha of the week. Actually it's a triple portion, but a double portion for this week. And then, of course, on Friday night is Kabbalat and Ma'ariv Shabbat service. All these times are at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now that we're back on the right time with everybody else in the world. And then on Shabbat morning at 10 a.m. Eastern is Shachrit and Musaf service. And then, hopefully, right back here on Monday for more stories on Zeyde's Story Corner. Until the next time, my dear friends, we will simply say, Laila Tov!